Good afternoon. Today we finished session. The highlight for me today, of course, was the HJR 23, which we'll put on the ballot. Jackson County having an elected assessor just as every other county in the state does. I was very happy to be able to get that done and very happy about that. The other thing I think that's on my mind today is Prop A goes into effect today, and so yeah, that'll be a burden on businesses that I was hoping that they wouldn't have to do. I was hoping that there would be some compromise, but we weren't able to get there. So now businesses will have to deal with this, and I'm hopeful that before session ends we can do something that will address that for employers so that they have some fairness and that they can continue to keep employing people and that there's some fairness between employers and employees. Again, I don't think anybody has a problem with the $15 portion, but I think the sick leave is something that businesses, that'll hurt businesses and kill some businesses. And so I think what we've tried to do this session is to come to some sort of compromise on sick leave. We want people to have sick leave. We want people to stay home if they're sick. But something that isn't what the current Prop A is, and we weren't able to do it by May 1st, which is disappointing. But I think in the next 2 weeks we'll continue to work on it. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Is that a priority for the Senate as well?
Yes. Prop A.
Yeah.
Yes.
To get something done before the end of session.
Yes. Yeah. When we meet with the Senate leadership and House leadership, that's that may be the priority that we have, is to get that done because it affects anybody with a job. And we think it's a business-killing measure, and if we don't get it addressed, I think you'll end up hurting the people that Prop A was trying to help.
You're in kind of a different situation now. You know, when the House passed the bill, it was still to take effect. If you pass anything now that eliminates this for anybody, you're taking away something they've got. Is that fair?
Well, I think anytime you're doing anything like this, it's about compromise. And the iterations of the compromise language that I saw last week had sick leave in it. It just wasn't the Prop A sick leave. Again, if people are sick at work, we want them to have time off. We want them to stay home and not come to work and get people sick. But the way in which Prop A does it, with the hour by hour, with the misdemeanor penalties, it's not workable. And so I think what we'll hopefully get to is something where employees do get the sick leave, but do it in a way that's fairer to employers.
The last version of the Senate had a floor on number of employees, and so that floor would take the sick leave away from a number of people who received it today.
Well, I think that would have been on very small businesses, and again, none of that was agreed to. I think as we see future iterations, all of that is negotiable, but we have to do something because the current Prop A, I think, will be a job killer.
So when the bill to repeal paid sick leave passed the House, there was an attempt to attach an emergency clause, and that failed. So if the legislature passes anything before the end of session on Prop A, it presumably won't go into effect until August unless a new emergency clause is added. Do you foresee that being possible at all, or are you looking at like several months before anything would go into effect?
Well, anything we pass, we would try to get an emergency clause. But again, now businesses are having to deal with one set of rules on May 1st and then another set of rules on when it goes into effect. It's very confusing for employers. Again, I think it hurts employers, which will in turn hurt employees. But anything that's passed over in the Senate, I think we would try to get an emergency clause because we don't want to wait till August. But there will be that time period that it's been one set of rules and then it's another.
So speaking of things passed in the Senate, next Friday is the deadline for the budget. Do you have any particular items that the Senate took out or added to that you want to see changed?
Well, in terms of the budget, they'll do their process next week. We'll have conference committees, which that is not something that we had last year. So I think we're doing well, just kind of returning to a normal process. And we do expect that we'll have a final budget on Thursday with a one-day buffer. There are some things that I think we'd like to see. I think in terms of education, I think there are some disagreements between the House and the Senate, and I have full confidence in our budget committee to be able to work with the Senate and try to figure things out in terms of especially elementary education. So that's something that we'll be watching.
What specifically on education?
The $50 million for the ESAs, the foundation formula funding, I think those are the two things that I'll be looking out for, and I have full confidence in our budget chairman and our budget committee, and they'll get to work next week.
You
Is that
added
why you put, or someone put Marlene Terry on House Bill 2 Conference Committee and House Bill 12 Conference Committee on both those issues?
I think I put Marlene Terry on the committee because she's also on the foundation modernization task force, so I think it fits. She's working on foundation formula. The education bills work on funding. I think it just works. She's a great member. Again, the first African American person to serve on the Riverview Garden School Board. She has a passion for this, so it really wasn't a question in my mind that she'd be on there.
But she's not a member of the budget committee.
That's right.
And the Democrats, were they upset with this? Do you know?
I didn't see anybody upset, but again, I think because she is on the foundation task force, I think it just fits very nicely. And then another thing I think is important this year is that Representative Fogel is on all the conference committees. I think she's done a fantastic job. And again, it's we're trying to get back to normal in terms of the budget conferences.
So do you want Representative Terry to push for the $50 million in House Bill 12 for the ESA program?
Well, I want Representative Terry to fight for school kids in the best way that she knows how. I think she is supportive of that. I have not asked her directly, actually, but I think she'll be on the conference committee and fight for school kids, and that's what I expect out of everybody on the House conference committee.
Would you have appointed a Democrat besides Representative Fogel that you didn't think supported the $50 million?
Well, there are a number of great Democrats on the committee, and I think all of them could have been on it. I just think Representative Terry, there's a special, with her being on the modernization task force, I think it just works very nicely, and I think she'll do a great job.
On HJR 23, you've mentioned a few times that tax assessments have to be fixed before any kind of Jackson County vote on Chiefs and Royals.
Right.
Is that part of the campaign now? Like, do you mention Chiefs and Royals when you're talking about HJR 23 and knocking doors?
Well, when I talked about the Royals and the Chiefs, and when we talk with people back home, we want them to know, because I do think if we're going to keep the Chiefs, that there has to be a vote in Jackson County. I don't think you can do it without that. When we ask voters to do that, we want to be able to tell them, you're being asked to fund this project, but they need to know that their property assessments are being addressed. And I'm not sure that they have to be corrected or this or that, but I do think they have to know that their elected officials are here trying to address the problem, and HJR 23 was one of the things that's important, because they know going forward that they will have a say in their elected officials, and that they do have a voice at the ballot to get rid of an assessor that they feel is not doing a good job. So that's one of it, one part of it. I would like to see more property tax relief. There are a number of bills out there. Spoke with Senator Nicola this week, and I think he's got ideas about capping it at whether it's 5% or 4%. I do think we would like to do more property tax relief in the next 2 weeks. We'll see if we can get it done. But I think this is a very nice step, and sends the message that we here in Jeff City are concerned about citizens back home in terms of their property taxes, and we will address those before we do anything with sports teams.
I know that you have said, something needs to happen locally with the property tax stuff, especially in Jackson County, in order to try and keep the Chiefs and Royals. Because of, I guess, the protests at the local level, is that why we're kind of, in a sense, going out of order like you would like to try and get some of these issues accomplished at the state level?
Yeah, I'm not sure a correction is possible. I sure would like to see that, but I think going forward, we want to make sure that the issues have been addressed before we do stadiums. That's why I think the bills that we have that would cap it or address it. Those are the kind of things I'd like to see move. But to correct it, I think that's a whole other issue because I'm not sure the money is there to give back. But as long as people know that we're addressing it, that's what's important to me.
Would you talk a little bit about 737? Would you talk a little bit about 737 getting truly agreed? That was a priority of yours going into the session,
Yeah.
the foster care money being taken from foster kids, and I know you want to see that get through this year.
Yeah, I think when we all convened here on January 8th, we said that was our #1 priority, and I'm happy to see that it got done. I think it got even better with some of the other provisions on there, and I think the governor will get that signed, and yeah, I'm very happy that we were able to do that.
What
So
difference do you think that makes for foster kids that when they get out of foster care, that many of them are planning to use that money, expect
Yeah.
it's going to be there, and have that carpet yanked out from under them?
Absolutely, yeah, and we see this happening, and which is why the bill was put out there. And so if there's a foster kid out there that needs these benefits, the fact that they have that, that's what we wanted for them.
What about Ian Mackey's bill to consolidate the city of St. Louis into the county, or consolidate both of them somehow?
Yeah. On that, I'm not sure I have an opinion as a Jackson County and a Kansas City, and we've got enough problems of our own. But I do, the Representative Mackey asked if they could debate that bill, and I think that's a reasonable thing to do, so it's out there. It's very late in session, but I think there's probably good and bad sides to both, but they were able to have that debate, and I think it's been around, and I'm not sure I have an opinion on it as a Kansas Citian right now.
But so do you think it's more of the start of a conversation?
Yes, that's exactly what it was, and happy to do it for Representative Mackey, and he and I came in here 7 years ago, and we're good friends, and to have that debate is what we wanted.
There is a bill to help downtown St. Louis with office to apartment conversions. It came over here early from the Senate, and it's languished, and there's another House companion bill. What's going to happen with those in the final 2 weeks?
Well, that's actually legislation that I support, and at the beginning of the year told business leaders from St. Louis that I support it before session went around St. Louis and looked at that building, and we want to do things that maybe help get that back to a building that people can use. I think there was that notorious doom loop article from the Wall Street Journal 1 or 2 years ago, and I think it referenced the real estate down there. So if we could do something where we convert that or get that back up to life. But for me, Prop A has to be addressed before we do anything like that, because there's really no point in trying to attract businesses, which I think that would be what they would want, is for retail at the bottom of those buildings. There's no point to try to attract businesses when you're telling them with Prop A that it's going to be very difficult for you. You have these sick leave provisions that can lead to criminal penalties. I think you're doing things that are working against each other, so I don't see a point in doing one without making sure that Prop A is addressed.
Speaking of languishing bills, one that I asked you about a couple of weeks ago was the age verification bill for porn sites. What's going on with that as far as what's the holdup? Who's blocking that? Or why hasn't that been a priority? Because it is about child safety.
Yeah.
If you could talk about that.
Yeah, and then other states do it just fine. I think just talking with the membership on both sides of the aisle, I think there's concern about databases and of people's private information there. It's a priority for me. I think we saw that it was put on the calendar in a little after Valentine's Day. So, but I think there's maybe some questions about that. But I would like to see that get done.
How do you reconcile database privacy versus child safety on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm more of the mindset that we should protect kids, but I think they're legitimate, that people's privacy and their data should be private too. But I'm in favor of getting the law done. You see it in other states, and I think we could do it here.
Sir, regarding the Capitol Commission, is there any House priorities that you think the Senate might push back on regarding capital improvements and stuff during the
The budget negotiations? Yeah, I don't know. I think we'll get together. Are you talking about the repairs for the Capitol building? Yeah, I just met with someone about some of the mock-ups for it. I think in future years it'll matter more, and so I think we're starting that conversation. But yeah, I think we're going to have a new Capitol, and when we come back in 20 years, it won't even look like what we have now. So excited about that.
Do you think it should be ADA accessible everywhere?
Absolutely, yeah. And the mock-ups that we just saw were all ADA accessible, and that's kind of the benefits of it.
I'm going back in time a bit, but for SB 22, which Kehoe signed, how much communication was there in the process between the legislature, the AG's office, and the governor's office? It just seemed like Kehoe signed that, and an hour later, Bailey filed the appeal. Like, was Bailey following that with you guys in the process, or?
Yeah, and I think that's a perfectly legitimate thing to do for different branches of government to work together. And the Attorney General knew about that. The legislature knew about that. Everybody had the information about the bills, and we wanted to act fast on that. But yes, there was the Attorney General knew about it, and that's why we did what we did.
So speaking of the budget, there was 169 earmarks of approximately 450 million added in the Senate, partially offset by a cut of $700,000 and 25 FTE from the Secretary of State's office. Do you have any thoughts on what should happen to either of those sets of decisions?
Well, I think in the budget process, it's never been the norm to cut funding for statewide offices. So I think the benefit of the doubt should be given to the statewide offices and make sure they have the funding that they need. And I'm confident they'll be able to work that out next week.
What about earmarks? I mean, the House has its batch, the Senate has its batch. If they all go in, it's $600 million plus of general revenue. Is that achievable? You think all that's going to come into the budget?
No, obviously it can't. So I think the process will play out. They'll get together. There'll be some Senate positions, some House positions, and of course I think they'll land somewhere in the middle between the House budget, which I think was $50.5 billion, and but yeah, some of the projects won't be funded, some will, but that's the process.
If there are $300 million of general revenue earmarks that remain in the budget, should the $300 million added for the foundation formula also remain in the budget?
Well, I think they'll talk about that next week. Maybe there's a middle ground that they can reach, but I think our budget committee did a great job with the record funding of K through 12, so we'll be advocating for that, but we'll just see how it plays out.
Besides the budget being a priority, obviously, and then you talked about 50 sick leave requirements and maybe some more property tax relief related measures, what else would be your priorities through the session?
I would love to see the open enrollment bill get done. I'm not sure that's possible. I think it got taken out it got brought up yesterday, and there was some spirited debate. Would love to see that. And then again, there's tort reform legislation over there that I would love to see. I think if we could get one or two of those things, it would go from an already good session to a great session.
Are you talking about the share bill?
No, I'm talking about House Bill 68. Statute of limitations. It also has that the NDA, the childhood sexual assault language.
So abortion's not in the mix?
Well, that's in the mix as well, and as I think I told somebody yesterday, the Senate will address it, and whatever they send back, the House will vote on.
Was the legislature caught off guard by this looming expiration of the survivor or the first responders killed in the line of duty benefits?
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. I think there are so many expirations and sunsets. It's hard to keep track of them all, and I only heard about that mid-session, and so that's why I think you're seeing all these bills and amendments to get that done. I really hope that we get that done. I think it's on a number of pieces of legislation, but I think it's important, especially given the recent events that we've had in Kansas City. It would affect people like that, and we want to make sure that if that ever happens, at least their family is cared for and taken care of. So I think that's a fair assessment, and we're trying to get it addressed.
How much is the increasing the money part of that conversation? Like I know that obviously removing the sunset or extending the sunset's a priority, but what about increasing it to 100,000?
Yeah, I think that's a debate in terms of funding. I think it's a priority to get the 25,000, And and whether it's 100,000, 25,000, or somewhere in between, I think that's the debate we're having. But I don't think anybody disagrees that we need to get that done and make sure they have at least some benefit.
On the topic of House Bill 737, of course, that also had the child marriage ban in there,
Yeah.
raising the age of marriage to 18,
Yeah.
and that's, of course, come up in past years. And I think I think last time it made progress, it died in the House due to
Yeah.
opposition from some Republicans. I was just wondering, can you speak a little bit to like the experience of getting that passed and the significance of that?
Yeah, and I know that some of our members have different feelings about that. I'm for waiting till you're 18 to get married. I think that would help with if we can stop one, and it would be a girl, from getting trafficked. I think that's good. I'm all for it. And you know, the human life expectancy is at 85. I don't know why people are in a rush to get married anyway, but I think waiting till 18 and making sure that there's no abuse or trafficking, I think I was very much in favor of that.
Is trying to get the child care tax credit package a priority as well still this session?
Yeah, and that's another one that we mentioned earlier this year. Of course, all bills are alive in Jeff City until 2 weeks from tomorrow. That's something I'd like to get done. We'll just see what happens.
You're gonna work next Friday?
Next Friday, the plan is to not work next Friday, or work not being in session. We'll be working. But yeah, I think we won't be in session. If we can't get the budget done, I think that gives us a buffer date. And then we will work till Friday, the Friday after.
Thank you.
All right, okay, thanks guys.
Thank you.